Hey guys, really glad to see everybody here. So welcome to today's meetup. It's a Saturday, I know, but like really glad to see all of you from here. So I can see a lot of you on the YouTube chat as well. So please drop a message as to where you're from, how interesting you will find like today's meetup, and how excited you are for the session upcoming. So today we have with us a really great speaker, and he'll be presenting on a very good subject. So this is one of the upcoming products we have, and yeah, without further ado, I'll let Maarten, you know, and I'll let Maarten explain more. So I'm bringing in Maarten.
Hey
Yeah,
everyone,
yeah. Hi Maarten, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So really glad to have you with us, and yeah, really excited for your session. So before we get started, like if you could, tell everyone where you're from and what you do, and what this session will be. Yeah,
So I'm Maarten from JetBrains. I live in Belgium, in Antwerp, more precisely. So it's a very small country just before you enter the UK, I guess. I work at JetBrains as a developer advocate, which essentially means doing talks like these, and yeah, essentially talking to customers and making sure that people can work with our products and also get better with working with our products. On Space, I'm a developer advocate as well, and I'm also working on the SDKs for Space. So if ever you want to write a custom application or a chatbot or something like that, there's a good chance you'll be using the libraries that I've been working on.
awesome. So I think without further ado, we can get started with the meetup for the day.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So I'll just be adding your screen to the stream and dropping out.
All right. Hey, everyone. Yeah, from my side, again, welcome as well. Welcome to an exploration of space. The idea of this talk is to give you a little bit of insights into what space is and what space can offer you, because it's essentially a product for a very crowded market where there's different angles on solving things and so on. And I want to really show you what space can do, how you can work together, and how all of the different aspects in space work together as well. Now, before we start, let's quickly cover the agenda. I'll do a couple of slides in explaining what is space, what is JetBrains, who is JetBrains, and things like that. And once that's finished, we'll have demo time, and essentially demo time probably until the end of the meetup, because it's a Saturday and I don't like doing a lot of slides beforehand. So yeah, let's go to the demo as soon as we can. With that, if you are not familiar with JetBrains, JetBrains is a company that was founded in the year 2000 in Prague, and we started off with a product called IntelliJ Renamer. Very simple product that will allow you to essentially rename classes and so on in your Java code bases. That became IntelliJ IDEA later on. So if you are using IntelliJ IDEA, let me hear in the chat. I'm actually monitoring it as well. It would be cool to see how many of you are. Over the years, we've added ReSharper, WebStorm, PHP Storm, and multiple other IDEs. I think this year we probably have around 20 plus IDEs for different languages and frameworks. We have JetBrains Academy, where you can learn to program in Java and Kotlin and Python and so on. We actually have Kotlin, our own development language. There's TeamCity and Utrecht server-side tools. And yeah, since this year, actually end of last year, we have Space as well. So let's talk about space a little bit. What is space? The idea with space is that in a lot of companies, we see that a lot of people are using a variety of tools. There's typically a chat tool to communicate. There's a tool to schedule meetings. People are using issue trackers. Some people are using Jenkins. Some people are using TeamCity. So there's a big separation actually in tools. And depending on who you ask, they're using different tools. Marketing may be using Teams, whereas development is using Slack. And it's really a little bit of a mess to communicate and to work together on certain things because everyone is using different tools. And don't get me wrong, all of those tools are perfect and they are great and they work really well. It's just that integrating them is something that is really difficult to do. You have to think about security. You have to think about making sure that you have webhooks enabled to make something show up in Slack whenever you are using Jenkins or TeamCity, things like that. And this is really where we see Space as a good offering for you. So when you use Space, the idea is that you have a platform that works around people and teams. You have people in the company who are all individuals who are working on projects, who are working with other people, who can communicate, who have personal documents, checklists, absences, vacation, their calendar, and so on. And it's something that you want to have as part of your tool, the centralizing things around people in your organization. Now, people come together in teams. You have a software development team, you have a sales team, you have a marketing team. They all work together in teams. And typically, you don't just work together, you work together on something. And that something is going to be projects or places where people can work together on something. So Space also gives you those. What that brings is the ability to have Git repositories, to have automation, to do issue tracking, to have a wiki where you can store documents, and all of those things. There's also the collaboration side. So people work together in projects, but you have to work together, which means that you also need some collaboration tools. And those collaboration tools are going to be chats, are going to be issue tracking, are going to be checklists, essentially everything where people and teams can communicate about something on the project side. So let's talk a little bit about that people aspect. There are people tools already in a lot of places, but typically what they do is only one thing. You have something that does permission management, or you have something where you have the list of teams and who is the manager and so on. Then you have another tool to handle absences if you want to go on vacation or something like that. There's yet another different tool for managing calendars and booking meetings or booking meeting rooms even. So it's really hard to find those, and Space brings them all together in that people aspect. So you will see that there's a list of contacts in your team, there's permissions and roles, there's absence managements, vacation, and so on. Having all that in one tool means that if you want to communicate with some person in the company, you will be able to find that person, find out what their role is, find out where you can chat with them. If you're in an office, you can find out where they are seated in an office and things like that. On the project side, we want to focus on creative projects. Creative projects being, first of all, we kind of build Space from our JetBrains view, and we are a software development company. So obviously, you will see in the demo that there's lots of software-focused tools in there, like Git repositories, like code reviews, and things like that. But the idea is that over time, we will be adding more and more tools for different roles in the typical company. So I think the idea is to, over time, not only have support for software developers, but also make it possible for designers, for example, to work together on design mockups and things like that. Having that said, already today, it's not because we have Git hosting in there that, for example, the IT team or the marketing team cannot use the knowledge base. So you can already start using those. The interesting thing is by bringing those people and teams and all those teams or all those tools around people and teams together with those creative projects means that you can do some interesting things. So imagine you're a developer, you're making a change to code, and you are opening up a code review to merge back into the main branch. Who do you ask to review your code? Well, first of all, Space knows who is in your organization and can figure out who might be available to do a code review. But also having the absence information in there means that Space will tell you when someone is not available to do that code review for you. So again, having all of that information, not in silos in different tools, but having all that information in one place, which is Space, makes it really easy to find what people are doing, what their role is, and how you can work together on things. With that, I know those were slides with big circles, and I think they matter to give a little bit of an insight in the idea behind Space. But I think a better idea is probably to also dive into the project and see what is going on in there and how you can use it as a developer. So in my demo, I will be using two browser tabs. I have this one, which has a light theme, which is going to be myself as a user, or at least my alter ego for Space demos. I have another user as well, and they are using the dark theme. So you'll see dark browser and a dark sidebar on the left. So during the demo, it might be that I switch between multiple users to give you some insight in how things work. So you can look at the coloring there to see how things are different. With that, let's have a look at Space. So this is Space. Once you have an account, once you are logged in, every person in your company that has an account on your organization Space will be able to see this demo or this dashboard. So first of all, you'll see your agenda on there, which is personal. So for example, I can see that right now I have a demo, which is this meetup. There's also still daily stand-up, but given that's very, very soon, I'll probably have to skip that one. But again, I can already see my calendar in there. If I want to look forward to the next days, that is there as well. So I can look at what I have to do on Wednesday or Thursday and so on. There's also a list of followed members and teams. I, as an individual, I'm part of multiple teams, and by default, at least in this instance, I'm part of the software development team. You will see that my team is listed here, and I can see who's in the team, and I can also immediately see that some people are unavailable from this overview. So in the morning, if I log in and I see what is going on there, I can see that some people are unavailable, for example. Now, it says followed members and teams, which means that you can also follow others in the company. So I am part of the software development team, but I'm also following a couple of other people because I chat with them, I work with them together on a project or whatever. It's really easy to dive into one person's profile and from there say following or unfollowing, and then see what's going on in whatever they are doing. So that makes it easy to quickly see who's around of the people that you actually work with quite often. There's projects here as well, and I mentioned you can have one project, you can have multiple projects, and so on. Again, here, those are my favorite projects that I see. So it's not because there's only 2 projects here that I only work on 2 projects. It could be that I'm in 10 projects, but I only want to see these couple of projects on my start screen. When I start today, I will also see what I have to do today. And apparently I need to review some codes, update to the nightly build schedule. And there's a couple of code reviews that need my attention. Not a review, but just I'll have to look at them at some point. Another thing that you see here are the recent blog posts. And the recent blog posts is really news that is relevant to me. So you'll see that there's a new Mars office that has been opened, a piece of cake, whatever that may be. The warp drive had a slowdown in October. All the news that I see here is news that is relevant to me. Everyone in the organization can post a blog post, but typically when you post a blog post, you will target it at one team or one location so that not everyone in the company gets disturbed by the fact that there's all of a sudden news that may not be relevant. Instead, you choose the target audience and only people from that target audience will be able to see whatever is being posted. Right, so that's the homepage. And I think since we are at a technical meetup, I'll probably spend some time looking at projects. So let's look at one of the projects that we have here, Ktor.io. For people who are doing Kotlin, you may recognize Ktor as a web framework. I essentially copied all of their repos and some of the issues into Space so that I had a nice project to demo it. So inside a project, I mentioned that you can star and unstar a project. This is essentially the toggle that shows a project on the homepage or not. Note that when I star a project, you'll also see it appear in the sidebar on the left. So this makes it easy to quickly jump to one of the other projects that are there. So if I want to jump to checklists in Galactic App, I can do so there. If I want to go back to Ktor, I can quickly do so as well. Right, on the homepage here again, I can see a description, what this project is about. I can see again code reviews, I can see issues, there's checklists and repositories. I'll cover all of those as we go along. One thing that I really want to mention on the homepage here is that a project does not correspond one-on-one with a team. So typically in a project, you will see that there's going to be a team working on something. So Ktor is a software project, so the software development team is part of this one. But there's also several individual people who are part of this project as well, because we are working together. Again, from those big circles on my slide previously, people and teams working together in projects. So that's what you see here. And from here, of course, it's really easy to dive into who is in the software development team and figure all of that stuff out. But enough of that. Let's have a look at one of the main things that a lot of developers will work with, and that is repositories. So again, the project homepage also shows you the things that you favorited, so you can essentially customize what is being shown there. And you can also look at all of the repositories that are part of a project. A project can have 0 repositories, can have 1, can have 20, whatever amount of repositories you want to have in there. Typically, what you will see is that software development teams will typically create 1 or multiple repos to work with on codes. If you're not in a software development team, typically you will ignore those repositories and just work with documents or whatever else is in projects. Looking at repositories, we can go in there, we can clone them, we can look at the settings and so on. Before we dive in, maybe a quick interesting note. So at JetBrains, we are using Space as well for a lot of our developments. And for example, IntelliJ community is hosted on GitHub, but our own developers in JetBrains clone IntelliJ community through Space. When you create a repository, you can create a new one and just use Space. But what you can also do is mirror a repository from GitHub, for example, or from another Git hosting, where every commit that goes into GitHub arrives on Space, and every commit that goes to Space also arrives on GitHub. So it's really a full bidirectional synchronization that you can set up there, just as a small tidbit. All right, let's have a look at repositories. This Ktor repository here, you will by default see all of the commits that have happened. I'm going to close the sidebar there just to have a little bit more screen real estate. You will see all of the commits. For every commit, you can look at the changes, who committed a change. You can actually look at the changed files as well and see what is going on in there. So what you would expect from having a repository. You can filter by author, you can filter by branch. There's start dates if you want to find a certain commit, etc., etc. One that I really like is that you also have a file browser in here. So you can look at all of the files that are available in a repo. By default, the README is being shown, so you can see how you can get set up, how you can get started with working on this project. And while that is really important to get started, what I really like is the fact that people can add comments to files in here. So on the left here, you will see those small comment icons in the file browser. You will see that, for example, here in Ktor auths, someone added a comment to some class where they asked a question. You can do that at any moment in any repository in Space. Just ask a question somewhere and start chatting about a piece of code. And what's really nice is that these comments are preserved as long as that code is preserved as well. So everyone who is new in this team will be able to see this question that someone had and the answers to that question. So for example, if you have a question, how do I work with this class? What has happened here, or why is this such and such? You can ask it in source codes. People in your team can respond to that, and others can later benefit from that knowledge that you are essentially embedding in your repo. This one was completed. The blue one here is a comment that is still open, so that's something where interaction is still needed. So maybe have a look at that one as well. And there apparently someone said, if you want to use a different engine, you can use this snippet to get started, which is quite interesting. I actually added a comment mentioning a colleague saying, is this what you are looking for? I can add another comment and say, for example, just tried it. It's cool. And essentially started chat within code. Now, what is interesting is that all the participants of this discussion will see this discussion in their chats. So they may not be working in this repository. They may even be working on a different team and so on. But as long as they are part of this discussion, they will see these messages in chats. So let's switch to our other user. And you will see there that there's a new chat message. And this discussion in HTTP client is now a chat channel. And they can respond from there without having to dive into the full context, because maybe it's just a response like this that is enough. If they do need the full context, of course, they can switch to the full file if needed. But very often, if someone has a question about a piece of code and you show this small bit of context, very often people know enough to get you started and get you on your way in working with that piece of code. And again, if I switch back to my user, I will now see the answer inline in that code as well. So that's a real nice thing to add there. And by the way, this is not a code review yet. This is just asking questions about the code that is already there and discussing what is in there, just so you have an idea. Anything else I want to mention here? Not really. Essentially everything you would expect from a Git repository in terms of filtering, in terms of showing who has made certain changes and so on. So you can annotate, you can look at codes and so on. All right, so that's repositories in a nutshell. Now, obviously, at some point, you will want to start coding. And what you can do there is you can clone, and you will get the URL where you can clone this and start working with it. So what I'm going to do now is jump into IntelliJ and just make a small change to one of the projects that we have here. So there's another project that I have, and I already cloned this one in IntelliJ. And by the way, if you have IntelliJ, you can still do a regular Git clone, but there's also a nice space plugin that lets you clone a repository right from within IntelliJ. What I'm going to do is a couple of changes to something that is in there. So let's find one of the features, async application. This seems like something that is worth messing up for this demo. So what I'm going to do is change this number of threads. I have no idea what it's going to do, but change it to 8. Then maybe add another get here and say this is a get for /tests. And what this will do is respond, call that response. Let's respond with texts and say this is a test. Oh. And imagine this is a huge refactoring and I'm making lots of changes. Let's maybe make another change to the README here. Because I'm on Windows, this will be a batch file instead of just Gradle W. I will change this to HTTPS because HTTPS also matters nowadays. And I'm going to update my build script as well and add some new lines and maybe add Maven Central there as a repository that we can get data from. As you can see, I'm totally freewheeling and totally making just some random changes in here so that I can commit this to space and then we can do a code review. All right, so I made these changes and what I'm going to do is create a new branch and I'll call it MB for Maarten and demo changes seems like a good proper branch name. So I can create a new branch and I can commit my changes and say that I updated README to add HTTPS as a commit message. I'll commit and push that out to space. Going back to space, I can now see again all of the repositories, and the repository that I just made a change in is this Ktor samples one, and you see that there's actually just now a new commit. And if I go in there, I will already, of course, see that all of my changes are in there, but on a different branch. Space lets you do multiple different types of code reviews. So very often, if you just want some feedback on a change you've made, what you can do is do a code review. And this will not be a code review with the intent of merging to your main branch. This is a code review where people can add comments and where you can ask opinions and essentially discuss a couple of things. If I want to bring this branch back to my main branch, what I can do is open up a new merge requests. I can add reviewers there as well. And again, I mentioned that having all of the information in space is really important. And I can also see, for example, that this person called Hadi is currently unavailable until the 28th of February. So probably Hadi is not a person that I should add here as a reviewer because they are not available. So let's see if we can add header again, because that's my other user that I have open. and create a merge request. Now, a merge request is turn-based, which means that whenever I make a change, it's my turn to make changes. And as the author of this merge request, by creating a merge request, I say, okay, my turn is over, it's to the next person. Based on the colors here on the right, you will see that I am waiting for a response because my turn is over, and Heather is now reviewing the changes. So let's skip to Heather's side. She will see that a new chat channel has been opened as well with that code review. And again, you can see what is going on in there. Now, this code review is not particularly interesting in terms of chat because it's only a commit is there and someone has been added as a reviewer. So instead of staying in chat, she can now go into that updated README to add HTTPS. Before I do that, really quick side notes. Space, because it's centered around people as well, and people is not just in teams, but also personal productivity and things like that. In the sidebar here, you have your to-do list where you can add tasks, let's say tests, and I can complete that task and so on. Everywhere you see one of those lightning bolt icons, you can add items to your to-do list. So if someone opens a code review and you don't want to immediately dive into it, what you can do is say, okay, I'll add this one to my to-do list and continue with whatever other work I'm doing. And then my to-do list will now contain that I have a code review that I should look at, and I can quickly jump back to that to-do as well. So just as a side note, you can do that with chats, you can do it with issues, you can do it with a lot of things. Now let's do some code reviewing. Go to the actual code review, and there we can see all of the changes that are there. So this one, the number of threads, I would probably say that this is not a good idea to just change that without any additional info. So let's say, why was this changed? Seems a risky change to me. And I can save that as a draft. Again, Space tries to make you productive by only giving you information that is relevant. And by default, code reviews are drafted. So you don't get all of the messages separately while someone is reviewing. Everything is drafted until Heather here finishes her turn in the code review process. So she added one comment. Maybe this one. Is this a leftover from testing? Maybe remove. Sounds like a good thing to do. You can also add that as a draft comment. And yeah, these changes are probably good. So what you can also do is add a reaction there and say, awesome change, and let's add a party phase or something like that. So you can do that as well. Now Heather's turn, it's finished. She's done reviewing. So what she can do now is finish her turn and say either I'm waiting for a response, I expect that you check whatever is going on, or accept that everything is fine and merging is a good idea. Let's say waiting for response. You can now see that Heather is, if we hover, waiting for a response, and now I am revising the files. So it's my turn again in the entire process. So switching back to my screen, I can see all of those comments that came in. I can see them inside of this code review, but again, since the code review is also a chat, I can see these messages in a chat as well. So if you're on mobile and you don't have access to the full code review screen, you can still see whatever pops up in chat. And for example, say, I'll add a cool emoji there as a reaction and be done with that. Now I'm showing this all from the browser. As the author of this code review, what I could also do is in Space, again, with that Space plugin, there's a Space code review step as well. And I can see, let's look at all of the open reviews, updated README to add HTTPS. This is one that is there, and I can dive in there and look at all of the comments that have been added. And by the way, I'm using a nightly version of IntelliJ, so this may occur. It's always a good excuse during demos. But again, I can see that this is going on, and I can work with that. So this is fine. And I can say, okay, this is an awesome change. Perfect. I'll resolve that from here, and I can resolve it from here. This one I can say you are right, will update, and add a comment and send that. So I can do that from within the IDE as well. If you added something by accident, you can also delete the comment, for example. So if you want to delete this message, you can do so. You can edit from here or edit from the browser. So all of that is there. What I'm going to do now is actually fix this and revert that to just saying 4 so that we make an update. Let's save that. Commit again and say this is fixed merge review comments and push that out to space again. All right, pushing it out. Typically, when you push new changes to space, you will see that the code review sort of automatically goes into, or at least should go, into waiting for response. And the reason for that is when you make changes, when you commit changes, it means that you typically solved whatever comments came in, and you can now essentially wait for the other party to review things. If in a review, for example, you have a question and you want to have someone else join in as well, you can also, again, add comments there and say, for example, Arjen, and you look at this in a separate commit, for example, and then post that message. And then Arjen, in this case, will also get a message and will be not a reviewer, but he will see this comment and can join in the discussion and start chatting on that. So that is there as well. All right, let's switch to header and let's assume that all of these changes have been addressed. And let's say we resolve this one, we resolve this one, and we say, good, we accept the changes. What happens now is that I can merge. And by the way, this is maybe something of note as well. For every single project, you can configure what the gates are to actually be able to merge to your master branch. So this project has no gates, so I can always merge whenever everyone approves. But in your project settings, what you can do, and I'll open them in a new tab, what you can do is set some rules where, for example, just merging into a specific branch is not possible. Let's go to the repo here, go to settings, and then I can say that I have, for example, protected branches. So what you can do is do something like every branch, everyone can commit, nobody can do a force push, and I want to have some quality gates. So what you can say is that, for example, at least 1 or 5 people in the organization should be approving whatever is going on. So I want that at least a project administrator approves a pull request whenever it happens. There's also space automation where you have CI, and I'll cover that in a little bit, where you can say, okay, CI must be green before you are able to merge into the main branch. There's external checks as well. So if you're using a different system or you want to integrate and add your own check marks and so on, you can specify that as well. So with that side note, let's imagine we are all good and we can merge. There's a couple of ways to merge. We can rebase, and we can rebase and squash, just like in a lot of other solutions. I personally almost always on all projects rebase and squash, because then all of my commits go into one and I can commit this stuff and push it in there. So let's rebase and squash. And we should now be able to see on Ktor samples that our changes are now in the main branch. Awesome. Now, I mentioned automation, and you will see in space that there's jobs that can run. And those jobs will run typically on commit. So you will see by making these changes, we have a number of applications that are now waiting to start and build things. So you'll see chat application, HTTP, bin, Queet. A lot of applications are currently building. For every build, you can look at what is going on. Whenever it starts, you will see the log files or the log output of that. Let's maybe take an existing one so you can at least see something that is going on. So you will see the entire log is there. You can see tests that have been run, all of the related changes. If you're generating a Docker container or a Maven artifact, you will see those here as well. So you can see that this build has generated a chat Maven artifact, and you can work with those. All of those builds are done in space, and they are based on a .space.kts, essentially a scripting language that we have to configure your builds. So you will see in this repo, there is actually a file called .space.kts, and that file contains all of our job definitions that are there. Now, this is a space overview, and I guess I can probably come back for another session on space automation at some point, but I'll quickly give you some ideas on what you can do with this. So first of all, if you go back to IntelliJ and you have that space plugin installed, and I think in 2021.1 we're bundling it, you get syntax highlighting and code completion on those scripts as well, so you can easily edit them in here and validate that they are valid. If not, you can also use the web-based editor inside of Space, where you get a nice sidebar that gives you examples on how you can get started with things. And for example, do a Gradle build or publish a package. So you'll see lots of snippets and information on how you can do things like, for example, doing parallel steps and things like that. Typically in space automation, you will see, and I'll zoom in a little bit more, you'll see that you have jobs. And every job runs one or multiple steps, and steps run in a container. So this job called nightly builds will run a container, hello world, essentially just download the container, spin up the container, and be done with it. That's obviously not super interesting, so this one is probably more interesting, where we have a Gradle build that is happening. We again are defining a step in our job and saying that we want to run this step in a Gradle container with a specific version. And we can give it some information on how it should start. We can also set resources. There's the ability to add failure conditions. So for example, when a certain memory limits or unit test fails, you want to fail your automation script, you can add that there as well. So again, I'm not gonna dive in here too deeply, just giving you an idea on what is there. There's really a lot of things that you can do here. Actually, and by the way, I'm known for, during presentations, making short side steps to additional information. So this is one of those. If you search for JetBrains space automation and blog, I'm hoping, you will be able to find a blog post called Using Space Automation to Optimize Routine Workflows. A really long blog post on how you can abuse space automation to synchronize a calendar with space. So I have a personal Office 365 calendar, but for work, I wanted to add busy statuses in my space calendar. So what I did was use space automation to write a job that starts every day at a certain timestamp, that will run in a container, and that will then run Kotlin scripts. So you don't have to run Gradle, you don't have to run .NET, you don't have to run whatever. You can also write code inside of your automation scripts. And the codes that I wrote, and it's really long at some point, but the code that I wrote is a Kotlin script that will actually use the Space API to get my personal profile, then get my personal meetings from within Space, and then do some logic with it to have that synchronization run. So again, if as part of a build, you want to do Gradle, but also post a message to chat, for example, or add something to someone's to-do lists when the build fails, you can do that as well. So that's definitely possible. End of side step. So back to space. We've seen that the jobs that we have, let's go back to our, gonna zoom out a little bit again. If we go back to jobs, you will see that for the samples project, all of the builds that I have will generate an artifact. That artifact, in this case, a Maven package, can be pushed to artifact repositories in Space as well. So this one is pushed to, actually, that's not right. This one is going to be pushed to the package repository that I have here, Ktor apps, where you will see all of the applications that have been pushed into Space. I can see all of the different versions. I can look at files. I can pick one of the versions here if I want to see how or when some version was pushed and so on. And for every file, I can also see where it came from. So I can see that this one was created 2 minutes ago by a build called app-chat Gradle build. So I can also go there now and again look at how this package actually came to be on our package repository. Packages, like I mentioned, can be Maven, can be Docker as well. And there's actually a couple more options. There's a NuGet feed and an NPM registry as well that you can create. All of these can be private, so to just your team and however you configure your authorization details. But you can also make repositories public. Actually, the Space SDK that you can use to build an integration with Space is published to Space as well, but we are making use of a public feed there, or a public repository, so that everyone can download packages from there. So it's how you want to configure things. Also, package repositories will, in the future, not yet deployed in the cloud here, but in the future, they will also be able to mirror upstream registries. So for example, if you're using Maven Central and you want to make sure that the artifacts that you consume from Maven Central are in your own package registry, you can do so as well and pull those in there. All right, so that's in a nutshell. We've seen Git repositories, we've seen space automation, really just the tip of it, and we have seen that there's package repositories. So that's essentially roughly part of the development side. Now let's look at a couple of other things that are in space. So in our Ktor project, you may have seen that there's issue tracking and there are checklists. These can be used by developers. If you're not a developer, it may also make sense to make use of those. Checklists and issues are really the two ways of tracking tasks in your space organization and your space projects. Issues are really fine-grained. They are like an actual issue. If we look at them, you will find that issues can have someone who is assigned to an issue. They can have a due date. So for example, let's say today. They can have a status. So let's say this is done. They can have tags. They can be on a checklist or on a board and things like that. The other option to track work is in checklists. Checklists are really a more high-level approach to planning the work that you may want to be working on. So we have a milestone here in this project called Add Open Telemetry Support. If you go in there, you will see that there's a list of tasks to work on. Let's go to planning meeting and maybe add a couple of items there. So this is really a to-do list of tasks that you want to add. So let's say update build Docker image versions is going to be a task. And as part of that, make sure we mirror these on our own repos. Something like that, so you can quickly build a list of meeting notes or whatever. You can use shortcut keys to move them around. And from these checklists, at some point, you can create issues if you want. So if, for example, this one should be an issue, you can do so from here and you can assign it to someone. And now you have an issue linked to an item in your to-do list. So you can go there, add a reaction, for example, and so on. Again, issues are also chats. So in this issue, I can add comments and I can say, Heather Stewart, is this okay for you? And again, our other person will see a new chat message, this time for an issue, and she can say, go for it. Something like that. And again, I can see that from within the issue. In terms of issue tracking, a question that often comes up is, can we have issue boards? Yes, you can. So you can have a backlog, you can add items on there. For example, if we say that we want to have our new issues to research instrumentation on there, that one is already on there, but let's say demo during stand-up, I can add that to our board and we can start working with that and move it to in progress, for example, move this one back to in progress, move this one to. So again, everything you would expect from a quick issue board that is there. All right. What else do we have here? I have 15 minutes left. There's so much to demo here. Projects can have documentation or documents as well. So in this Ktor project here, you will see in the sidebar, there's a Documents tab. And the Documents tab is really a collection of documents that you want to store around certain topics. So for example, here, We have an infrastructure book, which contains information on how you can use Kubernetes, on how you can use the staging environment, and so on. There's another book where we log whatever was decided during meetings and so on, so you can edit those in there. Nice thing here is if you edit, you can edit in collaborative mode as well, so multiple people can be working on the same document at the same time. Documents can be rich text, but if you prefer Markdown, you can also just write in Markdown if that's easier for you. You will also see that the to-do list is here again. So for example, if I have something on this staging environment and I want to add this to my to-do lists, you will see my to-do list that this document is now part of that, and I maybe should make some updates to that or read through or whatever you want to do there. All right. I see a question on, can we have milestones? I know that we promised to do the questions at the end, but I think it's maybe relevant to do it right now while we are in the issue boards. So whenever you create an issue board, you have the board itself. Inside a board, you can create sprints. And I think a sprint is probably what you would call a milestone as well, where you can say we have, for example, the February sprint, which runs from date X to date Y. You can create that sprint and then start adding issues there. I should add an end date so you can start working on that and move things into one of the sprints that you have there. So I hope that answers at least that question, but I just got it in the chat, so I thought it was worth handling here. All right, a good 10 minutes left for me. So let's maybe dive into a couple of the other things that are in space. So far, we have seen everything organized around projects, but let's maybe look at some of the other things that are in there for you personally. So first of all, there are chats, and as you would expect, there is chats that you can create for certain channels. So we have a software development channel where I can ask, for example, how is the demo going? And this one will be in chat. And then my colleague will probably see that software development now has an update. How is the demo going? She can dive into a thread there. So far, so good, I think. And so on. So you have threads, you have channels, you can have direct messages, and so on. And yeah, those are there. Now you will see that there's channels on the left here. And in every channel, you can see whatever is going on. You'll also see that the threads are there, but a thread can also be pinned. I can pin this thread as a separate temporary channel. Imagine you're in a discussion that needs answers and you want to be able to quickly find that thread to continue the discussion. You can easily do that if you want. So that thread is now a channel on the left here. So if I now jump to another chat, I can go back to software development, but I can also go to one of the other threads that I pinned previously to quickly dive into a discussion that was ongoing already. So I'm going to unpin these just for future demos. But you get the idea. It's really easy to pin a channel and easily continue the conversation as well. In chats, again, you can add chats to to-dos as well. So let's switch to Heather here, and she can go to software development. Can you check if there is a recording? Might be a good question. On my end, I think there is, but maybe this is something that I want to figure out at a later point. So what I can do is add this to my to-do list again, continue my work, and tomorrow when I open my to-do list, I will see, can you check if there is a recording? I can go back to that chat message or start working on it. In terms of starting to work on it,
Maarten, sorry to interrupt, but I think we have some extra time on our hands, so we can just go on for another 25 to 30 minutes.
All right,
that's okay
cool.
with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to update. Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have that to-do there. And typically, what do you do with a to-do list? You like, of course, crossing off items and making sure that something is done, which you can do here. But the other thing that you can do from to-do lists is create an issue or create a meeting. Very often you have a to-do where updating the Kubernetes clusters, for example, is going to take me 2 hours. Well, what I can do from here is create a meeting and schedule that I should be updating the Kubernetes cluster, let's say somewhere on Monday, somewhere in the after hours, and that's going to take me 2 hours. So I can schedule that to do very easily and add it into my calendar. That brings me to a next topic, which is probably going to be meetings. I'll go back to my homepage. You notice that there's my personal calendar and my personal schedule that I can see here. I can also add new meetings and invite people and so on. Now, before I do so, I know there's a question that comes up very often. Can this be integrated with Google Apps or with Office 365 Calendar? That is coming. It's not yet there, but that's definitely coming. Also, in terms of audio chats and so on, not there yet, but it's all on the roadmap and it will come at some point. All right, from within the meeting here, or from within our calendar, we can create a new meeting and say, for example, Saturday Hangout. And I can say, I can add a description and say, it's Saturday, but I'm demoing. Anyone wants to hang out? And create a meeting like that. If I create a meeting, and that should probably be Hangouts or something like that. If I create a meeting, I can do that and set a time. I can figure out what time this meeting could be, and I can automatically add participants. I can do so by just picking someone from my team, and by default, people from your team will be shown here first because those are the ones that you very often collaborate with. So let's say I want to invite Matthias, and so on. And the more people you add, the more conflicts and things you will see, because Space obviously also checks whether someone is on vacation or not. So Hadi seems to be on vacation. Again, one of the benefits of having all that information in Space. So what I can do is say, okay, look, I'll not invite Hadi this time and just do this with one person. If you add a full team, you can do that as well. And you will see individually who in that team is on vacation and things like that. What is interesting, and well, not super interesting in the times where a lot of people are working remote, but you can also add meeting rooms. And meeting rooms will automatically be added based on where people are located. So if people in your software development team are in different office buildings, for example, Space will automatically suggest the best meeting room for that person at some point. It will also check if there's 20 people in one location. It will also pick a meeting room that has room for 20 people as well. So a number of those things are in there. I'm going to remove them because this is just going to be a Hangout at some point, so I'll drop those. I'll remove the software development team because I want to have people join when they want or if they want. So what I can do is set the privacy to non-participants can join. And if I do that and I create this meeting, let's say for today, I can copy the URL, go into chats, go back to that thread about the demo that we had going on, and say, if interested, takes that meeting URL. What you will see there is, for me, I can join that meeting immediately. The other users or the other user is also now able to join that meeting when they want. So even if it's not in their calendar, by seeing it in the chat here, they can say, okay, I want to join that meeting, and automatically they will be added into that meeting as well. Not sure or won't attend, or all of those things are possible in there. So that's quite nice to quickly invite people to random hangouts and so on. In terms of calendar, maybe also interesting, when you have a meeting going and you want to invite people, by default, this list will show teams and will show people who are inside of your organization. But of course, if you want to schedule a meeting with someone outside of your organization, you can do so as well and invite them, and this will be added to the list of participants. That's definitely possible. Some more options in meetings. You can make recurring meetings. All of that is there as well. Now, why is it important to have meeting information in Space? And just for giggles, I'll stay with this user for the remainder of the demo. It's really nice because you can see your own calendar directly in Space by day, by week, by month, and so on. But it is also possible to find other people in the company. Space has an excellent search engine where you can search Control-K or Command-K, and for example, find the other user that we had and open their profile by doing Shift-Enter, and I can jump there. I can immediately see their calendar for the next days. So if I want to plan a meeting, I can see maybe somewhere next week or the week after on Wednesday, I want to schedule a meeting, and automatically Space already knows that it's you who wants to create a new meeting, and you can do that from here immediately as well. All right. In terms of information that is there, in Space, you have your personal profile and you have your calendar and so on. Having all of that information in Space also makes it easy to find people who are doing a certain job or a specific role. So you'll see that Maarten here is a software developer and also works on infrastructure. If I want to know who their manager is, I will be able to see that here. If I want to see who is in the software development team, I can look at who is in the software development team, who joined when, who is on vacation and things like that. I can also look at a team calendar, and I can see, for example, if I want to schedule something with the entire team, that I should do that starting March, because right now at least one person is still on vacation. So all of that information, again, gives you the ability to quickly figure out where to schedule a meeting, how to schedule a meeting, and so on. Now imagine I'm new to the company and I want to find someone who can help me with a specific problem. What I can do is go to the team directory here, and you will now see everyone in the company. So imagine I am looking for someone who can help me with something in administration. Well, I can search for that team. I can see who is there. If I want to find HR, for example, I can find that as well. I can see who is in there, and I can also see where they are located. So Michael here is in my office as well, so I can immediately jump to a chat or communicate with this person about whatever problem I may have. So it's really easy to, again, use all of that information to find someone you want to chat with or someone you need for a specific task or project. Speaking about figuring out who is doing certain things in a project, and again, I'm switching to projects. In a project settings, you can also have a list of responsibilities. So if you have a really large project where you have front end, back end, maybe infrastructure, design, and all of that is in one project, you can build a list of responsibilities too. So in this project, we did that, and we can see that everyone or that documentation is handled by Matthias here. The HTTP stack in this project is handled by these two people, and I can again quickly figure out who I should talk to for a certain issue that I have with the code base. All right, what else do we have? Yes, blog posts. So I mentioned at the start of this session that the homepage you have here is really targeted at you personally, and all of the information will be what is relevant to you. Well, blog posts are part of that. And actually in JetBrains, we are making very extensive use of those blog posts ourselves, because we use it to give people news about company news that is relevant to everyone in the company. But also, for example, when developer advocacy has to do something, we write a blog post, and then all of the developer advocates in that team will be able to see a specific blog post. Blog posts can be text, can be text and an event as well. So what you can do is write a blog post and say, let's say test blog posts. Say this is just a test. And I should learn how to type live. I can publish to the blog, but if I want to edit the settings, I can also add an event. So imagine you have a company all hands or a Friday afternoon meeting that you want to organize with some added context. You can write a blog post and then immediately also add an event to it, so that people who read the blog post can easily join and add this to their calendar if they want. So you will see that as part of the blog posts. And again, you can pick which team should be able to see this, or you can pick the location as well. Actually, speaking about locations, I'm going to quickly remove this blog post. Speaking about locations, this piece of cake blog post was targeted at just one location. You can see that as a tag here, because some person was coming into the company and was bringing cake back then. and they decided to give a little bit of information about the fact that this is coming, and you could add it to your calendar and join for a piece of cake. Again, like everything in space, the comments below a blog post are a chat as well. So I can comment underneath this blog post. Other people can work from chat, vice versa, depending on the context that you are currently in. And again, everything can be a to-do item. So if it's a long blog post and you want to read it tomorrow, you can add it to your to-do list and read it at a later point that is more convenient to you. So with that, I think I'm more or less through the high-level picture. So actually, if there's any questions that we can handle, I'm more than happy to do so.
So just checking if we have any questions. So, okay. So this is one.
All right, so Space desktop application as well as the mobile applications take a lot of memory. Any suggestion to handle that? Not right now. I would say if you are using Space Desktop or the app, contact our support, and they might ask you to open the developer settings and capture a snapshot. So definitely contact support, and we're more than happy to look into whatever the issue may be.
Okay, there's another question.
Can we configure notification settings at the global level instead of every chat? So yes. I'll quickly show you a couple of things. So in chat, you can subscribe to everything in a specific chat, to all messages or just mentions, to all threads or only threads you follow. You can decide whether you want push notifications or email notifications or none at all. So you can quickly change all that per channel. There's some options in your profile as well. So under notifications in your profile, you can decide which notifications you are interested in. So if you don't want to know about, for example, whenever someone joins or leaves a team in one of the specific channels for that, you can disable that and automatically you are unsubscribed. This list is ever growing. Our internal JetBrains instance also has the option to subscribe to certain other types of events and so on. So this is definitely going to increase, and it's definitely possible to configure notifications globally during, or at least in this screen here.
Awesome. So I think that clears that.
Yep.
So we have another question.
Can this track the time spent by developers in the IDE, code review, space, etc.? Not by default. So we don't have anything in there. What you can do is maybe start customizing space. So if you are a space administrator, and I will now switch back to my user because this one is an administrator, you can actually add custom fields to memberships, to profiles, to absences, to teams, to issues as well. And those custom fields you can use to, for example, track time spent on an issue and things like that. You can add those fields and decide what should be shown there. And you can then make use of the Space API to read the data that is in those fields. So if you want to do time tracking, for example, what you could do is add a custom field to issues and then make use of the Space API. And fear not, there's everything that you can do through the UI, you can do through the API as well. So what you could do is, for example, get custom fields. Search for custom fields. You can get all of the values for a specific type, which is going to be member or issue or whatever, for a specific user, and then get that information and do reporting on that. So I hope it clears it up. It's not an easy answer because there's some customization involved, but it should be possible.
Okay, awesome. So we'll just have one more question and then maybe you can continue.
Yep. Documents are also a useful feature in space. Can we have Markdown for code documentation? Absolutely. So if you go into the documents, let's go into Ktor here, into documents, and into one of the documents we have there. What you can do in here is switch to rich text or Markdown. And here, for example, if you want to describe something about connecting to these things, what you can do is add backticks, and all of a sudden you will see that you now have a code block. You can remove that. So pretty much any markup type that is available in Markdown can be used in documents as well. So I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to add a follow-up in the comments.
Awesome. So, okay, let's have one last question.
Can we add and change themes or color scheme? Yes, you can. So in your profile again, you can go to your user interface and you can decide whether you want the defaults, the dark or light modes. I have really good news if you're a fan of the dark mode, because as you can see, this is not super dark, it's still light. An update is coming very soon. I hope at least it's coming soon, but it should be out in the near future, where dark mode will actually be a proper dark mode where everything is flipped around and so on. So yes.
Awesome.
Can I quickly, because I saw another question about personal profile and so on. So I saw a question about personal profile, whether it is possible to configure the working hours, because every single day after 8 p.m., for example, you are unavailable. Yes, you can do that. So yeah, that was the question. So notifications can be configured in working hours. You have a default where you say Monday to Friday, I work from 9 till 6, and I want to get notifications from 8 till 8. You can edit that. You can disable notifications on Monday. If that's your focus day, you can do that as well. If you don't want notifications in the weekends, you can disable that as well. An interesting thing is that you can also have temporary working hours. So if these are the defaults, but you say that somewhere in March, let's say the first week of March, you will have a different schedule where you say, I will start at 10 and I will work until 9 p.m., for example, you can change the working hours for a specific period of time as well.
Okay, so we have one more.
All right. How to do a two-way sync up with Jira, at least to reference legacy issues which already exist in Jira. That's not a short answer, unfortunately, and it's actually also two answers. So I'll give you one answer, which is that there's the HTTP API that you can use to create issues. So you can update issues, delete issues, create issues, etc. So you could script something yourself to use the API and push all of that data into space. That said, if you search for JetBrains space blog import issues, I hope, yes. We actually did a blog post recently where we have a tool, actually a Docker container, that is already pre-configured to make use of the API and gives you a lot of backgrounds, but that allows you to import issues at least from UTrack, but we have some Jira options there as well in this container. So it's not in the blog post, but if you look at the container README, you will also find information about that.
All right. So I think we can have the rest of the questions towards the end. And yeah, maybe you can continue with the session.
Yeah, I'm actually fine with questions. There's a couple more things that I can probably show, but I guess since there's a lot of questions, let's just go with questions.
All right, guys. So yeah, please keep the questions flowing in. Maarten is ready to take them all. So we just have, let me show you one question.
Can we give access to clients for creating any task? Not yet. So the idea is that we will make it possible to have external users where, for example, a customer can add a specific task, but that is not yet available. So again, I would say if that is a requirement, you could build a custom dashboard somewhere and then make use of the API again to create an issue through the API.
Okay, so there's another one.
Is there a way to open the IDE in the browser from space and code? Good question. Actually would like to see that as well. So that's when you go into your projects, into your codes, let's do that, to be able to just open up any file and just open it up in the browser or in the IDE. That's not possible right now. The thing that comes closest is probably making use of the space plugin that we have in IntelliJ, where if you say, I want to, let's close this project and close the other one as well, where if you want to start working on something, you can actually start cloning from within the IDE directly. So again, if you log into IntelliJ and you want to get from VCS, the Space plugin adds this Space dashboard there. And if you quickly want to get started with codes, you can then search for the project that you're working on. For example, this Ktor samples, clone and get going.
Awesome. So we have another question from Manoj.
Can we check the hierarchy of a colleague from chats? Absolutely. So if you go to chats, and I'm really confused now because of the color scheme that we changed as part of one of the previous questions. So I'm going back to the light mode. In chats, if you hover any person, so let's say header here, you will see their profile card and you will quickly see what their roles are in which specific department and what their location is. From here, if that is enough, if you want to see that they are software developer in product marketing, that is easy to do. If that's not enough, you can obviously also go to their profile and then see who their manager is, and then see who their manager is, and then see who their manager is, etc. So you can follow the hierarchy and get that information. If you want to report about hierarchies, that's a different question. It is all in there, but there's no UI to get it out there. So again, the answer would be the API in that case.
Okay, there is one question from Shushit.
Will there be email notifications for merge requests and comments apart from chat notifications? Is this configurable? Absolutely is. So what you can do is in the chats, you will see, for example, for build failures, I get success notifications here. You can configure that and say, for example, that for builds, I don't want notifications, or I want notifications and I want them sent to my email and so on. In general, again, you can go to your profile under notifications. Where is it? There it is. Again, you can specify notification email and just say, I want everything by email.
Awesome. So I don't see any other questions right now. So guys, if you have any other questions, okay, that is one question.
How does it integrate with CI/CD, especially if there's any check-in results in CI/CD that fail? Actually, what you can do is in your, let's go to the Ktor samples project here again. In the settings for a repository, you can add protected branches. And there you can say, for example, that anything that is refs at main branch, for example, has to have quality gates that are enabled, where you can say that, for example, CI/CD should complete before you can actually start merging into the main branch. If you don't use space automation, you can also make use of external checks. That is an API call that you can make if you're using Jenkins or TeamCity or whatever. You can actually use the API to also feed space some information about what is possible or whether the CI/CD result is successful or failed. So short answer, yes. Longer answer, this screen. Yeah.
That's well said, Maarten. So there is another question.
Is there a way to integrate Gmail or other emails into Space? Not yet. I have seen a feature request for that. I don't think it's very high on our priority list right now. So if that's really something that you want to have, you can actually go to utrack.jetbrains.com/issues/space. I'll show you the URL. And there you can create an issue, and I think email is there as well. So if you search for email integration, that's probably going to be one of the issues that is already in there, where you can probably just +1 and vote for the issue.
Awesome. So there's a question by Saurabh.
Does Space replace Jenkins? Up to you. It can replace a lot of the things that are in Jenkins. It does CI, it does CD. You have automation jobs that you can run with multiple steps. You can push packages to repos. All of that is there. So does it replace Jenkins? In terms of technology, absolutely possible. But of course, if you have a fully configured Jenkins with 200 build configurations, it's probably going to take you some time to migrate those over to space automation. So again, it's up to you, but it can. Yeah.
Okay. We have one question from Shoshit.
Are there any space bots that can be directly integrated into a space application? Not yet. That's very, very, very high on the list, and I'm actually working on a couple of samples in that regards. So that is coming, not today, but it's definitely coming. If you have a custom bot, again, I keep saying API. There is an API to use the chat, where you can, for example, send a chat message to a certain recipient. Let's say, let's send something to Heather, because that's the other user that we have opened. You can send a chat message that is a block of texts with a style where you can say this has to be primary, and you can add sections where sections can be something that has text, for example. So you can really richly build a chat message that you can send to someone using the API. So if you have a very simple bot that you want to have sending messages into space, you can use this API. For full bots, you can develop them yourself today already, but a marketplace of existing bots is coming.
All right. So we have another question from Raja.
Is there a marketplace? Yeah, sort of answered that already. I think it is coming. It's definitely coming.
Okay.
I think right now we have integration with what are they called again? One of those automation things where you can respond to events and then post messages, Zapier. So that is already there, but the marketplace is coming.
Okay. That is one question by Vishwas.
Do we have a vulnerability scanner? Nope. We do have a new project at JetBrains. It's called Codana. It's currently a new static analysis scanner for lots of things that you can do to check the quality of your source codes. It's a tool that you can already integrate with TeamCity, not yet with Space, but it's definitely something that you could run as part of an automation job. The only thing is that you will have to download the report to then manually look at it instead of having a nice UI for it. So do we have one? Yes, but is it integrated already? No.
Okay, we have another question from Manoj.
In which language is the Space UI developed? That's actually a really cool question. So Space itself is built using Kotlin. So all of the code is Kotlin based on the server, on the client in the browser, as well as the mobile application and so on. So we are using Kotlin multi-platform to target different technologies and different types of clients. So for example, we have view models for a user profile, for example. Those are built just once, and we reuse them in the UI on the server side, in the mobile application, and so on, because it's all Kotlin, and we bridge those applications together. So the UI here technically is probably React, but we are making use of Kotlin JS to do all of the binding and so on. So almost none of our developers are actually writing React code. They're all writing Kotlin JS and the framework that we built for that.
Awesome. So another question from Vaibhav.
Is there any way to integrate other CI/CD tools like SonarQube? Absolutely. Again, this will be a question of using the HTTP API playgrounds. But what you can do is, as part of your CI/CD in Space Automation, you could run SonarQube and do a scanning result and so on. If you have an external server to do all of that, you can make use of status reporting, where for a specific project, for a specific repository, for example, you can have SonarQube fail or run or succeed whatever automation task you have.
Awesome. So I don't see any other questions. And And yeah, Martin, you can maybe go to the live chat after your session ends and answer
Absolutely. Yeah.
all the live like questions there. Okay. So you mentioned, okay. So yeah, probably I'll take one more minute of your time. There's another question by
No
Saurabh.
worries, no worries. Can users create their own channels in the chat? Absolutely. So in the chats, you can always create a new message or a new channel. Can be a channel where you have something that has a hashtag and an actual channel name. Can be a conversation with multiple people, sort of like an ad hoc temporary channel, or it can be a direct message with someone in the team. So if you create a new channel, you can call it demo channel, for example. You can give it a description. It can be public or private. You can already start adding members. A really nice thing there is that members, again, can be people, but can also be an entire team. So if you, for example, want to have the software development channel in space, you can add software development team as members. And whenever someone new joins software development team, they will also be part of this channel. And also when they leave the software development team, they will no longer be part of that channel. So that's also a nice thing that you can do. But yes, it's definitely possible.
Okay. There's another question by Manoj.
Can we add observers in code review? So whenever you create a code review, actually, let's open an existing one. Whenever you create a code review, you can add authors, can be one or multiple people, and reviewers. If you want to have someone who observes, if you want to have a nice list, you can add them as co-authors. If you don't, what you can also do is just tag them and say, hey, Lucille, for example, enter, and she will get notifications of this one.
All right. I see another question. This might be fun.
How do I convince my organization to move to space? Really good question. And yeah, typical consultant answer there would be it depends, I guess. But I would say just start using it as a smaller team could be one option. One smaller software development team, for example, could use it just for software development and for chatting. And then whenever you communicate with someone, you can tell them, hey, you can join our space and we can chat there. So you can do that. And the other thing would be probably to show various demos and try to convey the value that space can bring to your organization. By the way, if you are looking for ammunition there, we have jetbrains.space as the URL. We have a video there, actually a couple of videos, so you can probably also share those with management and so on. I think we have a 8 to 10 minute overview video too, which should give them a good idea of what is possible. So I guess this website is something that could really help with convincing the organization.
Awesome. And the links are pasted in the live chat. So those who want to check out space and know more about space, please do check it out. Okay. We have another question from Raja.
Is there any use case which talks of team productivity and ROI after switching to space? Yes and no. So I think we have some, where are they? Somewhere on the website. I don't know by heart. Yes, here we have. We have some customer testimonials of people who have jumped onto space very early on and give you some of their experience with it and so on. A full ROI study, not yet. And I'm actually making a quick note of that it's something that we should be working on as well.
Okay. There's another question from Shushit.
Once a private channel is created, I don't see a way to make it public. Is that possible or planned? I would say open an issue. Indeed, I don't think it's possible right now. Unless, wait, I have to go to one of my channels. Let's look at this one. You cannot change visibility. So it's either public or private, and you cannot easily change. What you can always do is archive and recreate with a different setting. But if this is a feature you really want, I would say open an issue and we'll work on that.
Okay. There's another from Manoj.
Can we create dashboards to track progress? Absolutely. Inside of a project, let's go here. You have issues that are listed here. There's also issue boards. So what you can do is create a new board and just add your issues there, track them across, change the status. If you want sprints, you can create sprints as well. So it's really easy to do that.
Awesome. So I don't see any more questions. So guys, if you have any other questions for Maarten, please send them across so we can get them answered live.
All right. I also think that you have a quiz or something.
Yes, we have a quiz at the end of the session, but there are like a lot of really good questions coming in. So
yeah.
I guess it's okay to do it a little bit.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Okay. So guys, any more questions for Maarten? Okay. All right, Maarten. I think you can just go to the live chat after your session and answer whatever questions pop up there. There is yet another question which just came.
How do dashboards comply with Agile? I think that's a really good question. Actually, I made a typo in the chat, so I was multitasking. Good question. What is Agile? I would say. I know this works for a lot of teams, and depending on what your definition or your team's definition is of Agile, this may or may not be a good fit. But keep in mind, there's a couple of options where you can edit board settings, which statuses you want to add, and so on. And there's definitely going to be more things like swim lanes and so on that are coming to the boards here as well.
Awesome. I think there aren't any more questions, so maybe you can take them up after the session. So guys, feel free, please feel free to connect with Maarten after the event. Maarten, if you could share your social media handles with me, I'll make sure everybody can reach out to you in case they have any queries.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So, Maarten, do you have like other topics to cover?
Not really. Maybe one thing that was also part of one of the questions. So we have JetBrains.com. Too many JetBrains in my browser. JetBrains.com/space/guide, because someone was asking for short tips and tricks around using space. There is a space guide where you can find some short 5 to 10 minutes tricks, or even sometimes just 20 seconds, showing how you can use, for example, to-do lists, how the code review process works, how you can create private and personal projects using the search that is there. So lots of small tips on how you can get started with a lot of the things that are available in space.
Awesome. So if there are any more questions for Maarten, yeah, you can ask him below and he'll answer all of them after the session. So thanks a lot, Maarten.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and I just put up this slide, so in case anyone has questions or needs product page and so on, this is already a lot of the information that we have.
That's great, Maarten. I'll make sure we share all of these with the participants today so that they can refer to it at any point.
Yep.
All right. So guys, if you would like to see another webinar on space covering even more features in the coming future, please let us know. I'm sure Maarten and us could work something out and come up with something like really good for that.
Absolutely.
All right, Maarten, it was a pleasure having you with us. So
yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, really glad to have you. All right, you have a good day.
Yeah, you too. See you, folks.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this session. Do let us know if you would like to see more content on space, about the advantages it has over other softwares. And yeah, let us know below in the comment box what you feel and if you would like to use it. So yeah, with that, we come to the ending of the session. We have planned a small quiz, so we'll be going live with the quiz right now. So let me just share my screen. Yep. So we are at the quiz time. The quiz starts at 7:30 and ends at 7:35 p.m. The top 5 winners will receive Amazon vouchers and credits worth rupees 1,000. So this is the link to the quiz. It is there it is there in the YouTube description below. So please go and click on it, and let's get started with the quiz. So guys, I am sharing the link of the quiz in the live chat here. You can take it up. We are running the quiz till 7:35, or we can extend a couple of minutes since it got a little delayed to 7:37. So the link for the quiz is right below. All the questions are based on space and what you learned from the session today. We have a leaderboard. So let me just go ahead and share that as well. Right now, you see Vaibhav on the leaderboard. Vaibhav has 7 correct options. So let's see who can beat Vaibhav. And like I said, we have exciting rewards. The top 5 winners will receive Amazon vouchers rupees Amazon vouchers worth rupees 1,000. So please go ahead and play the quiz right now. It is completely free. All you have to do is register and just start playing. Let me refresh my leaderboard. Whoa, yes, Smile and Trushit are leading with all the correct answers. Congrats, Smile and Trushit. Anybody else who can beat their record time of 58 seconds or 77 seconds? All right, we have a third entry, Alim. Alim is also having 10 correct options. Congrats, Alim. And Dharmendra is fourth with 9 correct answers. So we'll be running the quiz for a couple of minutes more. So please do make sure you guys are playing it so that you can win one of these Amazon vouchers. Let me refresh my leaderboard once again. All right. So Smile and Trushit are still on top. Anybody who can beat Smile and Trushit's record time. Okay, I see a comment by Manoj saying I'm out of it. Ha, it happens. All right. Still no change in the top 3. So come on, guys. This is really that hard. How many of you find it interesting? How many of you find the quiz really interesting? And what do you think about the questions? Do you relate the questions to what you learned from today's session? Yeah, do let us know in the live chat. Okay, we have a new entry, but the top three still haven't changed. So congrats, Mile and Trishit. You guys are still going strong. So we'll be closing the quiz in 1 more minute exactly. So the last minute for you guys to play the quiz. Let me refresh my leaderboard once again. Still no change. So a lot of your comments about the timer. Okay. Yep, that's the purpose of that, I think. All right. Less than 9 seconds to go for our quiz to end. And we end the quiz in 3, 2, 1. Yep. So we have ended our quiz, and yeah, this will be the final entry. So congrats, the top 5 winners. We'll be reaching out to you for your Amazon vouchers. Amazon vouchers worth rupees 1,000. Do email us back with the correct details so that we can send it across to you. And thanks a lot for participating in our quiz. Also, if you really like today's session, do let us know. You know our social media handles. If you like the content we share, please do remember to subscribe to us and follow us for more content on like on Space and yeah, and on other products as well. So with that, I think we have come to the end of our session. Really glad to see you guys here again on a Saturday. Thanks for making some time and coming. Yeah, yeah, and yeah. I hope to see you guys in the next one. All right.